Good morning, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe because for every subscriber, I get a new subscriber and I also read a page from a book of my choice. So today is my last day of Christmas recess, and in this video, I am going to be reviewing my second book for 2024, which is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. So this one has about 140 pages and I rated it 2 stars, and I can only say that I bought this because of the beautiful cover. It's absolutely stunning. The title is also appealing and intriguing. Orbital, it's just one word. And I only finished it because of its length. When I did get to actually finishing this, it took a way longer time than it should have, by the way. Um, the first question that popped into my head was, why would anyone write a book without a plot or a point for that matter? And I certainly think that it is interesting how Harvey tries to depict what it would feel like were her readers to be traveling around the earth several times a day. In fact, I think it's 16 times in a day traveling around the world in the space shuttle. Through her characters, she tries to do this, but in reality, nothing really happens. It's hard to connect with the characters, to care about them, to sympathize even, because you don't really get to know them despite the events that would have otherwise changed their lives entirely. Um, I think the only reason I gave it 2 stars instead of one is because of this interesting concept of being in space. Six people traveling around the world several times, trying to make it to the moon or something like that. Um, there is also a great feeling of disconnect, loneliness, and even solitude, and the emotions in this book are expressed quite vividly through pretentious metaphors and allegories. So many of them, in fact, to a point where it all begins to feel quite unnecessary, and even 140 pages seems like a long book for something like this, which doesn't seem to have any conflict or any resolutions. They don't even make it back to the planet Earth, apparently. They just keep traveling around it for several months, and we have to decide what we think will happen to them in those couple of months they have left, and what will happen to them once they're back. I doubt she'll write a sequel to this one, but I was severely disappointed because it was an expensive book to buy. um, in my opinion, it is rather futile to be able to write beautifully, because the writing is beautiful, though this isn't a consistent thing either. Though, needless to say, boringly, if you can't even get your readers to care about the characters. If all you have are six characters in a space shuttle orbiting around the world, you have to make your readers care about the characters, care about what's happening to them, and then perhaps you might want to describe what the world looks like from above, from so many miles above, from so far away. There is no order to how they're mentioned, and frankly, the six characters, frankly, I think the book would have benefited from being split into multiple points of view rather than orbits, because it's split into 16 orbits, some of them ascending, others descending, and getting the story from the different characters' points of view. I think that would have made it more interesting, and I would have wanted to continue reading it of my own will rather than because of its of how short it is, I suppose. I certainly would not recommend this one, as the blurb is basically the entire book. You can just read the blurb and you'll see what I mean. It's the entirety of the book. There are six astronauts, two of them cosmonauts since they're from Russia. They are floating around in space and they are missing home. That's basically the entire concept. I suppose they are trying to do some research, testing their behaviors, learning more about how their bodies work in space, testing some cells here and there, experimentations on mice as well. But otherwise, it's not particularly interesting. Why should I care about that, you know? I know that it's fiction and there really isn't anything solid or evident, though I'm sure that Samantha Harvey must have done some research, I suppose. Um, I don't care much about reading what the world looks like from above, especially every single chapter, and I also understand how a fiction book should not be as didactic as this one. She is constantly looking down on her readers, trying to explain things about the world, assuming that they don't know it, and basically, Harvey doesn't really seem to care about this. She has quite an attitude in her writing, and she's also a creative writing teacher, I believe, which is quite ironic considering how horrible this book is. I wouldn't even say it's experimental, it's just flat out uninteresting and unappealing. It's repetitive, uninteresting, pointless, despite the writing, which is beautiful in its own way, and as I mentioned, this isn't consistent either. Once more, I did not feel much of a connection with the characters or sympathy for them, and labeling this as creative nonfiction would have perhaps led me to have a different outlook on it, and that outlook would have been to not have bought it in the first place. Ultimately, I basically feel lied to about the concept of this book, and I was hoping for much better. I don't think I'll ever read anything else by Samantha Harvey, and this was my first book by her, so I don't think I'll look out for any of her other works. Anyway, that's all I had to say about Orbital by Samantha Harvey. If you enjoyed what I had to say, make sure to help the channel out in any way you can. Especially make sure to subscribe, leave a like and a comment on this video, and check out the rest of my content, because why wouldn't you want to? It's all free. You probably have a lot of time on your hands, and you can also leave it on in the background and learn something new every single day. Thank you for watching, and as usual, I hope to see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye, guys.